Welcome. This will be a spoiler-free review of the DLC for Telltale Games, The Walking Dead Season 1, 400 Days. This came out in, I would say, 2012. And, to be clear, I'm not spoiling this or Season 1 of Telltale The Walking Dead. Let's see. The game is rated. The DLC is rated M for mature. So will this video be? And I did not love this DLC. I am still, looking forward to the rest of it. I have already started playing Season 2, and I'm loving that. But this does feel. I want to try to appreciate the idea behind making this, because I think I do understand what they were going for. I don't. I hope this wasn't just like an attempt at like a cash grab or something. Which, to be clear, I don't regret my time spent on this, and I paid very little money for this. This was discounted like 90% along with the main seasons of the game. So that's not what's happening here. But yeah, basically, right, and I'm not going to restate anything I said in my review of Season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead. So basically, in that, yeah. And yes, let's go with for now that. I'm not talking about any of the ones that came after this. But in Season 1, you make the choices in dialogue and sometimes action that, strengthen or weaken relationships with characters that you have an ongoing relationship with. That's one of the main things going on in that game. And in this, there are still these dialogue options, but there's not that much in the way of ongoing relationships. Like, it's more, maneuvering specific situations. And I want to make it clear, I'm not judging this as if it were Season 2. I never thought it was going to be a full game. It's significantly shorter, but it makes the choice to be about, let's see, I want to say, I guess it's like 4 different, is it 5? A handful of different people. Possibly a hand that has gone through, like, New Year's celebration fireworks accident. A handful of people, and none of them get that much time or very many different situations. And as such, like, you're not really, it's not about these ongoing relationships anymore, which I think in part maybe they were trying to see if something like this would work, because it is, it feels like it runs counter to the main game. I mean, it would have been one thing if they had released a DLC that was basically just like one of the characters in this, and then their, for one thing, I think it could have been fine if this had had one character and then been the same length, so that it would be, like a shorter version of the main game rather than this. But that's one option. Another option is, like, if they had just released one of the stories that are in this, I would have been, as long as it wasn't like particularly expensive, I would have been like, oh, okay, that's fine. But the way that it jumps around, yeah, that feels, I don't know. I hope it wasn't that Telltale didn't understand why season one worked so well. But yeah, it's let's see. Other than that, there is the right. I read for someone else's review that apparently, uh, I guess I'll keep it vague and say at least one of the characters in this do appear at some point in season two, and they didn't feel like that made up for the shortness of the stories here. I guess maybe I'll talk about that when I do my spoiler-free review after I've completed season two. Let's see, and I I think one of the things they were trying to do here is see how much you can get out of just like very few really significant choices, but make them still significant, because there are still really powerful choices here. And I guess I did think the framing device was fine. I'm not gonna give too much away. I'll just say that I just played them left to right, but it seems like you can play these in any order that you want. But basically, at the very start and after the completion of the first several of them, until there's only one left, the way you select who you play as is that there's this board that has their pictures and names, like Polaroids or something, and you click on a picture, and then that's the one you play as. And there is something going on there that is really only revealed at the very end, which I did think helped with, it helped make up for some of what there was here, some of the issues I've described. But basically, the characters are very different from one another and from Lee. And the I I'm not sure that it's that it works well for this. I do think like there are other games where you play as multiple characters and it actually has a really strong impact. I think maybe also one thing that hypothetically could have worked is if these characters interacted more with each other. I don't want to give away whether or not they do, but certainly they would have had to interact more with each other, because then you could have had that, like, let's say that you have one of the characters, you know, not be very trusting of others. And then when you play as one of the other characters and you're interacting with the character you played as before, you now have to deal with, well, they don't trust you kind of thing, and maybe if you made them very trusting, they're trusting the wrong person and you have to convince them to trust you, something like that. Which again, yeah, starting to repeat myself. I think that more or less covers, let's see. I mean, it does deliver a lot of, the stuff, like a good chunk of the way. It is the strengths of season one just in a smaller package, and you know, that's a good thing for a DLC to be, a smaller version with maybe some variations and such of the main game. DLC and expansion packs, a lot of them, that is what they are. More of the same, essentially. And Yeah, I did think that the various characters had interesting setups, and considering the length, they knew to pack in some very distinctly different, experiences, and in some ways, this in a shorter length of time has as many distinctly different experiences as season one in its entirety, and that's not a diss on season one either. I think that might just about cover the yeah, this had some really cool stealth, and some of the zombie shooting and such was also really great. And let's see, I think that might be just about everything. Let's see, let's see. Um, okay, I know there was at least one more thing. The fuck was it? I think the let's see. So the um yeah, um let's see. The right, yes. One thing I thought about was if they were gonna make them this short, and I've already addressed the fact that, at least one character pops up in season two, but someone who had already played through season two said that didn't make up for the flaws here. I wouldn't have hated if they had pulled a Silent Hill 2 and had you play as a character that you also meet in that game, but you don't play as in the main game. Because I think there could have been something really compelling if they had several of the, a handful of characters from season one, but we're seeing what led them to be in the situation that we found them in, and like in retrospect we think, oh, that's why they were like that. That could have been really cool. And I appreciate, that is maybe what they were trying to do for season two, and I get, having a DLC try to build anticipation for the next main game. This is not the only time something like that has been the case. And there were also there was at least one reference to season one, and I did really appreciate that. It just it wasn't enough. That might be what there is to say. You know what? I think I will just so yeah. Let's see. The what's a good let's see. I think this yeah. I rate this 7 one-off short stories about zombies set in Telltale's The Walking Dead universe out of 10. And honestly, I'm going to go ahead and talk about, talk spoilers, talk about my choices. So from here on out, I am spoiling season 1, potentially at least, and certainly this DLC. So if you keep watching from here on out, just be aware that that's, yeah. So I guess I'll briefly talk choices. And I guess very, very briefly, I didn't love that the convicts who ended up, one of them killed another and they were like shouting at each other and such. Didn't love that they were both black, but then with uh, um, Russell, maybe? Shit, I can't remember their names, but you had the young guy, he was also black, and with him there wasn't really that. Um, he was just treated as a human being, as should be the case in media and real life, because they are. I know that's shocking to the growing number of white nationalists, but they are. The but yes, I I tried to de-escalate when it was just the convicts, and once the guard came in, I tried somewhat to confront. I think it was something like point that thing somewhere else or something, and that led to, I want to say, was his name Justin, the one who was accused of rape. Um, that was he got up in front of the gun and said, "You sure you want to fire that thing again?" And then the guard put the gun down, which did feel very true to, like, very psychologically accurate. Justin knows that he doesn't really want to fire it, so if he's calling his bluff essentially, and the guard, he feels like the situation is spinning out of control, and he's not wrong. Now, and I did also think, it was so yeah, basically the con who got strangled, did end up dying and then turning, and we have the thing, it is safe inside the bus, and then attack from off screen. That was great. And the let's see, I thought they did a good job on the chain, because like at first it's just like, Justin, would you fucking quit it? Stop, being a jackass. But then later it's like, well, we can't escape with these chains, and well, we can't shoot the chain off, but we could maybe shoot the fuck's it called, the part that's around the ankle off, and there's the conversation, well, there's some chance that that's gonna, you know shoot off the foot, and we're not going to be able to bring that con with us. And then we're like, well, there's no other choice. If there's no other option, so we have to make the choice of which of them to shoot the foot off. I was evidently in the minority. There was the thing about, the number, the percentages. I did shoot the, he said he didn't do it, but then in the first season, one of the first things we're told is, well, every convict says that they didn't do it. That means they did do it, because Lee didn't say he didn't do it, and he did do it. So, yeah, I shot his foot off and escaped with the white-collar criminal. Now, to be clear, in real life, I cannot stand white-collar criminals, and I do think we have to do more to, again, I believe in restorative, not retributive justice, but, definitely there should be consequences for white-collar crime, and right now, a lot of the time there isn't. That sometimes when there is, it's because they fucked over some other, rich person. It wasn't because they fucked over regular people. So, in real life, I would not want to have to rely on a white-collar criminal. But my thinking, and listen, I guess I'll briefly go over. So I'm guessing the other people's thinking was, either that they just, they also can't stand white-collar criminals and they let that guy, which is also fine, it's a video game. or they were thinking, well, if he fucks over people, before the zombie apocalypse, he's definitely not going to be trustworthy during it. And I do appreciate that. My thinking was, is he going to rape again? If I take Justin with me, is that going to be, because I would not want that on my conscience. And at the end of the day, like, what's a white collar criminal? And he's not going to be able to steal people's money again, but I appreciate, there's other resources. Maybe that's what, but yeah, I was genuinely shocked when, I escaped from the prison transport, and then, it was just like, okay, you completed that chapter. I was like, well, shit, I did. Okay, I mean, I knew there was more than one character because I saw the board, but I thought that there would be at least a little bit more. It's like maybe 20 minutes of gameplay per or something. But yes, and I hid the gun in the trash can, and apparently a dog knocked it over, and that fucked it up. Let's see. I think the I did consider if maybe it should have been that the player had to pull the trigger after the guy says, "I don't even know your brother." Because like not every time, it's not always giving you a choice. Sometimes it's just saying you have to do this if you want to proceed. I think that could have been powerful. Now I think that does, but yeah, I did think it was a compelling thing of, Vince, I think, was the convict. Right, and I said, I confided in them, and then I said I regret it every damn day. But let's see, the fact that Vince, like, essentially his entire thing, like, there was the shooting of at the chain and such, and other than that, it was conversation and maybe looking at something, but I didn't get to walk during that at all, and I think that worked. Uh, let's see, who was next? I think it was what was his name, Wyatt, maybe, with the pot smoker, and uh, I lost rock paper scissors. Then I looked up if that's because there's an achievement for that, and someone said they tried 10 times and then gave up because they just couldn't get it. That's when I decided I wasn't going to go for that particular achievement. So now I'm just one achievement shy. But let's see. I did think it worked, this thing of like, oh, we ran over a humanoid figure. Is it a human or is it a zombie? And they feel like they have to go check. So yeah, and when I discovered it was a living cop, I tried to drag him over to the car. I saw that was, you could abandon him as well. And yeah, the other guy drove off, and yeah. I think, yeah, I guess that pretty much covers. But yeah, I thought that worked the way that, so you can grab him and drag him a little bit, and then there are walkers, so you have to every so often stop dragging him, shoot some of them, and then drag more. That worked. That was very tense. And I think Shell might have been the next one. Yeah, I tried, like with Clementine, I tried to maintain, what's her name? Becca, maybe? The younger sister. I tried to maintain her innocence. And that was one of the places where I really felt like, okay, why am I not playing as Molly trying to protect her sister in Crawford right now? What are you doing? Like, there's so much there. Like, yeah. Maybe I'll feel different once I've played, season 2. But I do think, ideally, something is good on its own, not just redeemed by stuff that came later. Now, I think that does yeah, I thought it worked well that the shock of the guard dog, suddenly there's just yeah, and they mentioned Vernon and Bree and the boat, and like again, I just wish there had been more of that. Yeah, and we have right. I said that we have to let the guy go, and in general I try to express empathy, and then afterwards they say, we should never have let that guy go, which like, oh man. And yeah, they put the other woman in the truck, and then I was asked to shoot her, and there again I was in the minority, which I accept. I got the minority report, the Philip K. Dick one, in my opinion, the better one. And I'm talking about the movie. I haven't watched. What, wasn't there a TV show? I feel like there was a TV show, or maybe a video game. Anyway, which I will say, I 100% understand how you could make, yeah, those others out of that concept. Moving on, I agreed to shoot her for stealing. Okay, I also again go over. So I think the idea that the reason a lot of the majority of people chose to drive off was that they felt it was morally wrong and they didn't want to stay in a deteriorating group. And I do think that does make a lot of sense. My thinking was, we're not going to make it on our own, though. And I have this young woman to protect, this younger sister. It's, I can't, like, maybe morals are a little bit of a luxury in this situation, And again, I really respect that they gave us the decision. And I guess that leaves, let's say, I think the next one was Russell. Oh boy, if there's more than 4, then I'm sorry, I do not remember the 5th. But no, I think 4 is yeah. So then we have the yeah, Russell, I think his name was. And I think maybe something that's throwing me off is if 2 of the characters are Wyatt and Russell, that means that Wyatt Russell technically appears in this game, and that just tickles my fancy. Anyway, Russell, I hope that's his name. I'm really not trying to disrespect minority here. But yeah, I chose to hide, which there was an achievement for. Say hello to an old friend or something like that, And I was uncomfortable around the guy from right away, so I didn't tell him very much. I played my cards close to the chest, especially after he did that thing where he breaks and reverses a little until there's a walker there. And I will also say, for several seconds, I was like, wait, we drove too far, because is that the walker that I was lying right next to? But that one seemed dead. It didn't move when I was lying there. But no, we drove past a walker, and he saw that in the mirrors, but yeah, and he says, if you say 5, I'm gonna flip. So I said 5 because I was like, fuck this guy. And yeah, then you had the thing about the empty gun, and yeah, once we were shot at, I said, I'll cover you, and then I pointed the gun at him, and I had thought that would be the end of it, because actually I think it said shoot. Right now I forget, but yeah, yeah, he grabbed the gun and then he said, "I'll cover you." The running, I thought worked well. That was a fun, Yeah. There was one bit where I was a little confused because I was supposed to press down, even though, like, wasn't he running to the left if we're talking camera, and he was running forward from his POV, so it's like, what is, yeah. But yeah, so once we're at the inside the diner, and that was also, it felt like, I mean, there is sort of an ongoing motif, like all of them, like they went near the diner and then they left their name on the board with a picture for the one at the end to find. But I don't know, it just I don't know. I guess that worked fine. I don't really have anything negative to say there. Moving on. But yeah, I told him, yeah, he quoted, as, Russell says, you quote my own fucked up shit back at me, and yeah, I was like, okay, fuck this guy. And I told him, I'm leaving. You better not hurt these. I'm not going to help you hurt these people, and you better not hurt them either. And then, after a few steps, he just shoots. So that was, yeah. And that just leaves, and I super don't remember her name. Sorry. The one who have recovered from being an addict. But yeah, I pushed back against at least some of the flirting, and then D shows up with the backpack, and I told them, listen, I'm not staying here. If you two want to, and I told them to be quiet and stuff like that. And then, it becomes clear D stole that, and we're being chased by by people with guns and flashlights who want back whatever it was she stole. And by the end of playing this, I still don't know what was in that backpack. So I guess maybe it's revealed in season 2. But yeah, let's see. We have the thing. What's the other? Let's see. So there's the uh what was the other thing? Uh, okay. I swear it's right on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, that was also cool, running away from them, and the bit where you had to, like, get through the cornfield that they're also in, so you have to decide, left or right, and yeah, there's some really great stuff there. And I didn't realize it was gonna be D. I just failed because I was too slow. But yeah, I did initially fail to hit, D. And the I love when games do this, when they want you to do the wrong thing, so there's consequences even if you try to do it right. Because there's another game, I can't give away which it is because it's a major spoiler for that game, but it's, yeah. Hypothetically, maybe and you can see in my list of video game reviews, one of the playlists. But yeah, even if you don't hit D, if maybe you're replaying it to see, what if I don't hit her? She just hits you, and it says game over. You are dead. Which, yeah, she thought that you were the yeah, she had no idea that, yeah. So yeah, you hit her, and she thinks you did it on purpose, that you were trying to kill her so you'd have Leland to yourself. And yeah, I mean, I tried to reassure her that that wasn't the case. And then Leland shows up again. I was in the minority. A lot, the majority lied to Leland. And I get it. it's this thing of like, well, if the two of them are still gonna help each other survive the zombie apocalypse, maybe him thinking that you did it on purpose is not the most, you know, yeah, like, maybe it was a strategic decision. Maybe they thought that it would be easier for him. I felt he deserved the truth. And ultimately, I hadn't purposefully done the wrong thing, so, but I did also appreciate, when I told him the truth, he just didn't believe. He accepted that I had hit D, but he refused to believe that it was an accident, that I thought she was one of the others. So yeah. Um, that does bring us to the part where the epilogue. And I did think that it did a good job of following up on the various ones. Although it felt a little, I felt a tiny bit slighted by it saying that my version of Russell just didn't trust anyone. Like, I'm sorry, did he leave something out when he told them about the guy who pointed a gun and had a zombie as, like, Jesus Christ, like, of course he didn't trust. Yeah, but um whatever. um let's see, if I recall, I think I did manage to have Becca be a little trusting and believe that she that it would be good for us to join the four survivors to join, five, because Becca and Shell are a package deal. And the let's see, I think um I'm not sure if that was unique to me, but Vince, at least my Vince said basically like, well, we could always kill them, or something like that. So, yeah. Right. And I tried to de-escalate, I had her say, you clearly outnumber me. And let's see. Yeah, and I forget if that was my choice, but certainly in my, you know, um, version, she agreed to be. I think she might have even been the one to bring it up. She said, I will. You can take me there as your hostage. And I did think it was very smart of them to have her radio the guy back home, because that makes it clear, no, she's legit. She wants to help. She thinks that this is a way to she thinks they're trustworthy. Honestly, not entirely sure why. Wait, I guess has she been watching them? I'm not 100% sure how she felt so confident or that they would all be in the same place, but whatever. Moving on. The fact that she radioed back home meant that I, as the player, felt confident that it would be good for me to talk, or that she would not purposefully harm them if I managed to talk them into joining at that camp. So that worked. And yeah, I mean, I think, I already mentioned that I felt that I should have played as Molly instead of Shell. I think it could have been compelling to play as the stranger, the one who tricks Clementine into thinking her parents are there, that you confront in the Marsh house. The ultimately, there was already a lot of pathos with him, but it could have been even more of a gut punch. And I think that does. I guess I might as well. I think Vernon could also have been compelling to play as. I guess that pretty much covers Oh, maybe Lily. Yeah. Oh, having, getting to play as those characters before we meet them in season one, I think would have been more compelling than this. Um, or failing that, they should have focused on just one of these, in which case I think maybe, I don't know if Vince is a little too similar to Lee since they're both ex-cons. Um, and with Shell, you do have a very similar relationship. It's the relationship she has with Becca is very similar to the one between Lee and Clementine. Maybe Russell. Um, yeah, I think that could have been something. Because for example, I think if if after the experience that you play him through in this DLC, maybe from now on he doesn't. Maybe the next time that there is an option to be driven by someone, maybe you're you know reluctant to go along with it, or yeah. Um, but that covers everything that I had for this one. I think possibly this video got softened by the fact that I am already playing season 2, and I think it's a so far a worthy successor to the first one. So yeah, that but I think that covers everything. I hope I was fair, because I don't think that they were just like, well, they'll buy any slop we serve them, so let's just shit something out. I think they, I get why, like, the idea that the I guess I'll briefly also note that the 400 days I thought was a decent enough idea. This thing of like, yeah, um, how many days in? But yeah, the idea of playing just briefly, getting a short story that sets up something, that's also like, I fucking love that in Amnesia: The Dark Descent. There are if you haven't, if you own that game and you just decided not to read the short stories, if you've ever liked a horror short story and you like at least some things about the game other than interaction, because obviously the short stories are not going to have that, I would absolutely recommend reading at least some of them. You can just like read a few sentences of the various ones and see which one you feel like reading if you don't read all of them. But yeah, at least one of them is about what happened to a character before the stuff that the game tells you about. And my God, when I read that, fuck, it was so powerful. And I think that's what they were trying to do here. And again, like, it's not impossible that I'll like this better when I've played season 2. I'll talk about it, if at least if I change my mind about it, I'll talk about it in my season 2 video. But again, I don't think that it should, because that's the thing. If I just read even one of those short stories and hadn't played the game, I'd still be like, that was really amazing short story. But yeah, I have said everything that I had about this one. So yeah, in several weeks when I've played all the way through, I will do the video for season 2. The only reason I got to this one so soon after season 1 was how short it is, because my wrists hurt like a motherfucker. So I can only play so much. Yes, I am going to I'm trying to think of if there's something clever that I could end this on. Yeah, I think one thing I really appreciated when with Shell, like, yeah, it feels like they're doing pretty okay there at the start. It really, like, when you see a walker, it's like, oh shit. And then there's like, oh, they have a prisoner. And yeah, like before he says it, like I was thinking, oh, did he rough him up like that? And yeah, this thing of like, um, one of them deals with the knives, another deals with the guns, and it's like there was a conversation about another thing, and it's like, oh, stir the pot, and he wants to talk to you about something, and these little things, like I thought they did a really good job on that. Like that's very much a thing. The four stories here felt different. Obviously, there's going to be danger in all of them. Otherwise, it's like, well, actually, yeah. Come to think of it, I guess there wasn't anything where I was in immediate danger. It just felt like it when I saw the guard dog. But with Shell, I think there wasn't immediate danger. They were just talking about like, well, it's going to go wrong. It has been going wrong, once we release the prisoner. But yeah, I've whereas with Russell, it's you have the tense conversation, and other than that, you're dealing with the sniper. And that was also such a great when we get in there, and it's just these two elderly people, and yeah, the right, and the way that a huge chunk of Wyatt was me moving through fog, and there's I have to find the guy, and I find the glass, and I find this thing, and then there's the guy, and it's a human, and he's still alive. That was really great. And yeah, a big chunk of that was the dragging, yeah, walking to find him, and then dragging him away and shooting walkers and such. So yeah, the four of them feel distinct. um yeah, I let's see. Yeah. um Right, and I did also think it was a very powerful moment that Vince shot the guy, even though he said, "I don't even know your brother," because, like, maybe he's lying, maybe Vince just wants to kill someone, anyone that has something to do with it, and maybe he's part of the gang or something like that. But I really appreciated that. That was, yeah, I'm like, okay, and I appreciate that that wasn't how they started off Lee, even though Lee also killed someone. Yeah, but yeah, God damn it, when we snuck up on the sniper, and there's the thing about why were you following us? And they're like, we weren't following you, you were following us.